Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whatever time of the day you're watching this on the interweb. It's Sid from Sid Sticks. I'm back. About a month since I did my last interview, and boy, I'm coming back with a vengeance. I've got a doozy today for you hockey fans out there. Where do I start? This gentleman grew up in Duluth, started his hockey career playing for Duluth Cathedral. They played in 4 consecutive state tournaments and won, I think, 3 of those 4. We'll talk a little bit about that. Moved on to play a little junior hockey out west in the WCHL, whatever I think it was, the Western Collegiate junior hockey team, Esteban and I think Chilliwack. After that, went on to play a little internationally. He was on the 76 team until the final cut. Some minor league hockey, but really made his name after his playing career into coaching, where he coached a little bit collegiate there starting out up in the Duluth area. Coached one of the teams I actually played against in scrimmage years ago at Denfield. Then, of course, moved on to, if we all know when we get into who this is, Duluth East. And today is the winningest high school hockey coach in Minnesota State high school history, which is quite an accomplishment given some of those coaches that he surpassed. I am very pleased to bring on Mike Randolph. Mike, how you doing, sir?
Hi, Sid. Doing great. Thank you.
I tried to keep it as short as possible because I know your list of accolades is, way long. So, but Mike, how you go about this, talking to people and talking about their hockey is, where it all started. I'd like to ask you, when you grew up, how did you get involved with hockey? Obviously, being from up north, we all kind of have it in our veins when we grow up and we're born. But where did it all start for you back up there in the Great White North and Duluth area? How did you become a hockey player?
Well, it all started at Lord Chester. My parents, back then, you didn't have TV, basically. You didn't have, we watched Ed Sullivan on Sundays. And so you're outside all the time. So during hockey season, we played hockey. During football, we played football and baseball. And so my parents took me to Lord Chester. And I grew up in poor family. My parents couldn't afford hockey equipment or anything like that, even back then. So my first pair of skates I got from Sam Williams, and he gave me a pair of red girl skates, and I didn't really care what they looked like.
Yeah.
I just wanted to skate, and that's my first pair of skates. And I ended up using hand-me-down equipment all the way up. My dad told me when I was in youth hockey, if I ever made the high school varsity team, he'd buy me a new pair of skates. And so I did make the high school hockey team in 9th grade, and I got my first pair of skates, tacks. And I'll never forget, I wore them to bed. I was so excited to have a new pair of skates. And but I played at Lord Chester youth hockey. I played on a peewee team, believe it or not, with 10 skaters. And of the 10 skaters, 5 of us ended up playing pro hockey at a different level. Played with Butchie Williams, who played in the NHL, and he was on that team. Pokey Traxel, the late Pokey Traxel, he played in the minors. Chuck Ness, Keith Gilbertson, his brother played in the NHL. So I played on quite the peewee team. And we had quite the program there. It was run by Rip Williams. And there was years, every level we won the city championship. And back then, there was ranks all over the place. And so there's probably 12 teams then. So that's where I fell in love with hockey. And obviously my goal was to make Duluth Cathedral. And I was fortunate enough to make it in 9th grade and play for, I think, one of the greatest coaches ever. A lot of people don't remember him. His name was Del General. And I played 2 years for Del, and I played 2 years for his son, Dennis General. And those were great years. And but that's how I got started. And like I said, back then, Cathedral, we used to fill the deck. We play East, and we fill the deck. Not the deck, but the arena there. and 6,000 people. We'd outdraw UMD. Games were on TV. John Gilbert was covering it, who was a big-time sports writer and covered
Yes, he was.
hockey extensively in Duluth before he moved on to the city. So it was just some great memories. So, yeah.
You mentioned and with Williams and Rip. Now I showed that picture of the rink there and some of the teams you played with. Can you tell me if I'm correct? Stand me if I'm incorrect. But did you not win a Pee Wee state tournament too as a Pee Wee? It said somewhere. So were you playing in a state tournament? Did you win it?
Yes, we did win it in Pee Wees. We won it in Bantams. We went to the national tournament in Pee Wees, actually. It was in Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay.
And I got pictures of us leaving Lower Chester on a bus and driving to Sault Ste. Marie and went on there, and we lost. If I remember right, we lost the finals to Detroit 3-2. And but we had an excellent team. I think we over the year we were like 28-0. Nobody come close to us locally. And then we went out and we went to the state tournament, won the state tournament, and went on to the national tournament. So it was quite the team.
Yeah, sounds like when you told me you had 5 guys go play pro hockey in some shape or form on whatever level, that's pretty amazing. You don't have that too often in a smaller community like
I tell my boys that they wouldn't believe me. I tell people that they wouldn't believe me, but yeah.
That's exactly why. That's exactly why I do this, Mike, is to tell stories that people don't know about, and I realize there's so darn good many hockey players in this state that don't get brought up. And I'm glad you mentioned those names. For people to look into. So from there you went on, and I'm going to pull up a picture. I had several pictures, but I wanted to pull up a picture here. Let me see if I can find it. By golly, I had it here. There it is. This is '69. You ended up playing in a state tournament. You said 4 years. You guys won it 3 out of the 4 years, if I'm correct. But this is a year that you're all tournament front row there.
That was my junior year because the guy in back with the white helmet on his pokey Trexel, he was a year ahead of me. So he was a senior there. And Freddie Paul is on my right. We played together on a line, and Gary Millage is up on the other end, tall guy there. He played on my line. And we won the tournament that year, and that's at the deck. And that's the all tournament team. So there's some pretty good hockey players in that picture.
Oh, I'll say. So how many, just out of curiosity, because, like I said, modern day people don't realize that there was 2 state tournaments back then. How many people attended that private school tournament? What kind of attendance did they have for that?
Well, they would rotate it between Aldridge Arena, and that place would be stuffed for it, and the deck, and it would be 4,000, 4,500 in Duluth. And unfortunately, we couldn't play in the public tournament, but we played a public school schedule. We played the Dell General went out, got the best teams to get ready for this tournament. And we would play, we broke International Falls' record. When I was a freshman, we beat International Falls 3-2 when they had Sheehy and all the boys up there. They had it was a long winning record. And we broke at their first game of that season. And so that was a big thrill and jump-started our season. And we, like I said, we were up in Iron Range, played against Paul Zari, Mike Antonovich and Greenway, played some great teams, and it just prepared us for the Catholic tournament. And I think that's the main reason why we had the success we had.
Well, I was looking at some of those, comparing the two, and that era. I mean, the names you mentioned, Anton. Even if I remember the Falls, I think Dean Blaze was on that team. Now, we talk about coaching. You're in coaching, and then you go over to Coleraine, other names. There's a lot of names that really stick in, in hockey history here in the state of Minnesota. And did you think? I mean, was it kind of unfortunate during that time that you guys couldn't play in the tournament? Were you frustrated or whatever? I just want your thoughts on that, since they had that.
Well, I remember my junior year specifically, because we had won it 2 years prior in a row, and the third year we won it, and we had played Warroad in Warroad against Henry Boucher.
Okay.
And John Gilbert, who was a sports writer, high school wise, had a huge article. And actually, my mom kept a scrapbook of all this stuff and gave it to me when I graduated. So it's kind of cool to look back at it. But there was a big article on who's a better player, Pokey Traxel or Henry Boucher. So we played them up in Warren and we beat them that year. And they were in the finals that year and probably would have won the finals if Henry didn't get hurt, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was frustrating because we always played our Catholic tournament before their tournament, the public school tournament. And we always wanted to play the winner of the tournament. I mean, like I said, we played International Falls when they were going to the tournament. We played the best teams in the state, and we beat a lot of the best teams in the state. But unfortunately, back then, there was a Catholic tournament and a private tournament, and we weren't allowed in it. So, and that always outdrew our tournament, but it didn't mean the teams that were in the tournament were any better than our teams. So from that standpoint, it was frustrating that I was never able to play in that tournament. And I know I'm speaking for a lot of my teammates as well.
Sure. You mentioned Pokey. Is that his first name? Was it Steve then? Is that Steve Traxel? Is that they call Pokey?
Pokey Traxel, yeah. The late Pokey Traxel.
Yeah, I'm looking at his. Yeah, you know, it's tough to find stats for Cathedral, but I see the stats when he played over at Duluth, and he didn't have too bad. His senior year had 45 points in 36 games over there, so not bad. One of those names that
he played. He had a great career at UMD as well, and played beyond high school, college in the minors. Yeah,
and that's exactly why I like doing this, is bringing up names that maybe people don't, think of. And I'm glad you mentioned Polkey because I saw his name on there, and I'm like, how good of a player was he? So it's good to hear stories like that, Mike.
He was an unbelievable player, and I miss him a lot because we were very close, and he'd be home at this time. He'd go down south in the winters, and I'd see him, spring and summer, and we had great memories together. He actually they had one team from Duluth go to the Little League World Series, and Pokey was one of the pitchers. They had two pitchers. One was Rich Pearson, and the other was Pokey Traxel, and they both pitched in the Little League World Series. So that's a little. Their pitcher is on the side of the Heritage Center in Duluth of that team. So, yeah, he was quite the athlete. He was an unbelievable quarterback for the football team. He could do anything. He was probably him along with Phil Haney, who I played with as a freshman, was probably, and he played for the North Stars. And those are the two best athletes I played with. And I think two of the better athletes ever come out of Duluth.
Wow, that's saying something because, guys like me, come after the fact, 20 years later, I don't remember that name because obviously I was little, real small. Yeah, but that's exactly why I ask people like yourself when I interview them, give me some names that people may not be familiar with, unless they're directly from the area that you grew up in. And Pokey's one that I appreciate talking about his legendary sports career there from the Duluth area. So, we talked about the playing days, and we talked about, you went on to play some minors. Well, a lot of people also don't, when they talk to people like yourself or Lefty or whoever these guys that play in the USHL, they don't think the USHL, it's always been juniors. Yeah. And it wasn't when you played. It was actually a minor pro. So can you talk about some of those? They were there, and I think you were with Waterloo too, playing in that, in those leagues that were USHL, but now are known for junior hockey. Pretty good days.
It was. I remember I think I made $150 a game, and we'd play 3 games on the weekend, and then I worked at a place called Peterson Seed in Waterloo, and that was a side job to help make some more money. And it was a heck of a league. And example of that, I played on a line with Paulie Johnson, who played on the 60s Olympic team.
Yep.
And I played on a line with Jack Barzee, who was head of Central Scouting. And
wow.
we had a heck of a line and a heck of a season there, and I really enjoyed it. We had an old airplane that we flew everywhere, and it just fit enough for the players. And I can't believe I got on that plane even, but
Yeah.
it was better than driving the bus during the winter. And it was just a great year, and I got to play with older players. And my game grew a lot playing with those two guys because they were excellent hockey players with a lot of experience, and they shared that experience with me.
Yeah, I'm looking at that roster. That what you're talking about 74, 75, because you had a whale. You had 90 points in 45 games. I mean, that's 32 goals and 58 apples. Not bad. Not bad.
Well, playing with those two guys helped. Like I said,
Yeah,
Paulie Johnson played on an Olympic team, and Jack obviously was a great player. Ended up being head of Central Scouting, and so I was fortunate to play with two really good players too.
There's another name on there I see that I actually played some no check over when I lived in South St. Paul or West St. Paul was downtown Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown, you played with him.
Oh yeah, yeah, Charlie Brown. Yeah,
some guys.
There's a Nagurski. I think there was a Nagurski on
yes,
there.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's one on there. I saw
we had a good team. We had a really good team. We drew well too. When yeah, so it was fun.
So and then you played with them later too, but then between you were at, it looks like it was Muskegon, the Mohawks. You were there for a little while too. Not bad again. 74 games. You had 81 points. Mike, the leading scorer was Jerry Ford. 141. Holy cow. What was that guy like? I mean, he had 141 points. You had 81 as the fourth leading scorer. You guys
I got to play with that guy too, Gary Ford. He was on the Montreal negotiation list. He was a veteran in the league, and I got to play right wing with him. He was a left-handed center, so he's dishing it to me all the time. And we had a great year. We got some tough guys on that team, and so they protected me, and so I got to play my game, and that was another great experience.
Good. So I see that you had the Waterloo, then Fort Wayne, and then the international team, the USA. I want to hear the story behind that because I know you were on that squad. You played. Let's see how many games you played during the regular season for them. Their exhibition season, 47 games, they had 36 points, and we all hear stories about guys that didn't make the last cut. Because one of my coaches, Gary Ross, was on that squad in '76, and he was cut on the '80 team. So can you? I know maybe a sore subject, whatever, but can you tell me about that experience and what it brought you? I mean,
it's not sore anymore, Sid, because I look back at it. It was my favorite year in the season. We were stationed in Madison, and we ended up playing. We traveled all over the United States, played a great schedule. And how it all came about was I'll never forget, I was sitting in the kitchen at my wife's parents' house, and I got a call from, we were starting to discuss, am I going to go back to Muskegon? Am I going to go to another team in the I? Or what am I going to do? And I get a call from Bob Johnson, who was a coach of the U.S. Olympic team. And he asked me if I wanted to come down to Madison. That was their home base for a tryout. They were playing New Haven, who was the top farm team of the North Stars back then. And they said, for sure. So I went down, and I penalty killed, no power play time, but a penalty kill, regular shift, and a weekend series with them. And Bob calls me into his office and says, how would you like to play for the Olympic team? That was an easy answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was very excited. Obviously, my wife Jenny was very excited. We traveled to Madison. That was where our home base was. That's where we played our home games, and I played the whole season with them. And we're going over to Finland for 2 weeks for a Olympic training and play Finland a couple exhibition games before heading over to Innsbruck for the Olympics. So word got around where we're staying that we are that they're going to have to cut the roster by 2 players because of problems at the where the athletes were staying, room and just issues. And we didn't know anything about it. And I'm at the time said what shocked me was I was playing with Steve Sertage. He was our center and captain of the team. And Buzzy Snyder was our left wing. Yep. So I'm looking at this and going, well, I'm safe. I don't have to worry about this. So I'm going to the locker room. We are going to the locker room to pick up our equipment, get on the bus, and head over to the airport and fly to Innsbruck. And Bob calls me up front and tells me the unfortunate news and says I can stay there at off site. We'll get you a place so you can come over, but you won't be able to play unless there's injuries. And I was one of them, and Jeff Besser was the other one. Yeah. I decided that I'd go to Copenhagen and fly home. I had to call my wife. My wife was leaving that morning for Innsbruck, and I was going to meet her in Innsbruck. And I went home and from Copenhagen with Jeff Besser. He also went home. And so years went by, and Bob Johnson ends up coaching Pittsburgh. And I remember being in Colorado. I was coaching with Mike Sertage at UMD. And I went up to Bob and I said, Bob, I don't question your decision or anything like that. It's been some time since this happened, but I just want to put some closure to it. And if you just let me know, how'd you come to your conclusion? And he said, basically, Mike, I did it. You and Besser were the last 2 to join the team. So you were the 2 that went. And I didn't even try out for the team. So I got that, and I appreciated Bob's honesty. And again, obviously it was tough at that time, but as I reflect back on my career, it was the best experience of all the years I played hockey. So I was very fortunate to even play on that team as long as I did. And it was an experience I'll never forget. And really, Sid, it changed my whole thing. This is hard to believe, but I'm done playing on the Olympic team. This was before the Olympics even started. I get back home, and within 2 days, we are sitting in Fort Wayne, playing in Fort Wayne, and my former high school coach, Del General, who is at the time the athletic director of St. Scholastica, calls me up and says, we need an assistant hockey coach here at St. Scholastica. And he said, your tuition will be paid, everything. We'd love to have you help out our coach. And that wasn't a hard answer.
No.
So I went on, and that's where I started getting into coaching. A timely call from a former high school coach, something that I always remembered as a high school coach, talking to my seniors leaving a program, that if I could ever do anything to help them in any way, job-wise or career-wise, don't be afraid to use me. And because I remember what Dell did for me. So a lesson learned.
That's an amazing story, because you already beat me to the punch, because I was going to ask you how you got into coaching. Well, now we know. A former coach helping you out.
Yep.
And when I look at some of these teams you played on too, whether it be junior or in the minors, or you mentioned Besser. Didn't Besser have a pretty good career coaching over there? Was it St. Thomas? And
Yep.
I mean, you also played with some guys that coached in the pros. I mean, I look at, I think it was Lauren Henning. I was on one of your, maybe out west.
Yeah, he was in Estevan. He was
Yeah, that's it.
our best player, obviously, and he ended up going on and playing. He was the captain of our team and obviously played in the NHL. And I think he was a GM in the NHL. I mean, he's had an unbelievable career in the NHL.
Yeah,
So,
and
yeah.
Les Jackson too, right? Was Les Jackson one of your squads? I think he was involved.
Les Jackson, yeah, he was a tough guy for us. You know, he was a fighter for us. Yeah, he's a scout for. He was for Dallas. I see him around, you know, obviously at the rinks. I haven't seen Lauren for a long time, but yeah, I was fortunate. I played, hey, even starting with that Pee Wee group, playing with Butch Williams. I mean, I grew up with Butch.
Yeah.
Guys that played, and back then the NHL didn't have 32 teams, you know.
No, it wasn't. That goes back to my comment before we got on. I talked about Don Ross from Roseau. He was part of, he was played pro in my opinion, and Lefty Kern was telling me that, but there's only 6 teams. And if you're an American, it's pretty tough to make the squad.
Yep.
Which, it also reminds me of a story when I was heading up to Superior play. I was filling in for the Bucks. I played a no-check tournament with some of the guys. And I remember I rode up with Jeff Mars, and Mike and Henches. And they had they were in the system of the Habs, and them telling me stories. And, they weren't able to make it because they were Americans, because they had a college education. But just to say you had a cup of coffee even to play in the NHL is a story for anybody, in my opinion.
Right.
Part of that. It's just crazy. Right. It's just crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing some of the experiences playing that you've had, and then of course from there jumping into coaching. So you were at you went to Scholastica. I look at that, and then from there you moved into coaching the high school level a little bit, because I mentioned Denfield. I mentioned that because
I'll just mention this. Said we won a national championship my first year at Scholastica as an assistant coach.
I did not know that, Mike. That is an amazing feat. That's
the only one they won, and it was actually we beat Gustavus over at UWS.
Wow!
I'll never forget it. Yeah, never forget it.
Well, thank you for pointing that out, because I did not, I do pretty good due diligence, but I did not realize that. That's on their back, and they're in the MIAC now, so becoming relevant a little bit then too. But yeah, that's crazy. I mean, congrats on that. I can't believe I missed that one in my.
I'm proud of that one because coming off the Olympic team and being so close to their ages that I jumped in there, and they really made me feel at home and really listened to me from what my experiences were. And it really obviously springboarded me into coaching, making me feel. They actually fired the head coach the following year, and Kevin Haney became the athletic director and coach. And I played with Kevin at Duluth Cathedral, and he ended up coaching there. Well, I stayed there 2 more years, and then I moved on. So it was a great way to start my coaching career. And I think it springboarded me into believing that I could be a good coach down the road.
Well, and I think you definitely proved them right. You proved yourself right on that. So I know I kind of jump around here and there, but you mentioned the Haney name. I skated with a Haney in West St. Paul with those guys, Charlie Brown and them. Kind of came full circle. Wasn't there? I remember one of the goalies you had was a Haney.
Yes.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
That's no relation.
Okay, I was just wondering, because that's not a common name. You'd think, I thought they were related.
No.
Okay, my bad. So I again jumped ahead, but getting back to the coaching side. So you won that national title at St. Scholastica, and congratulations to you. And for those of you that watch this, that's quite an accolade. I did not know that. So hopped across over to Duluth, if I remember right. And this guy, I want to ask you, what kind of influence did he have on you, Mr.
He had an unbelievable influence on me. I miss him as well. I loved going to the UMD games and seeing them. But we had a same passion for the game. We both loved talking the game and showing each other. He'd use me as a resource, as an assistant. He put me up in the press box, and he made me really feel part of it,
Okay.
not only on the ice but off the ice. And he's had a great influence on my coaching career.
Okay. Well, just wanted you to mention him because, yeah, may he rest in peace. He was a hell of a coach, and I know those couple of years that you were there. How about some of the names? I'm going to throw some names, and I want you to maybe just whatever you want to say about them. I mean, Mason, Watson, Curvers, Johnson, Grillo, Toninato, Smalley, McIver, some hockey names. Of those names that I just mentioned, and I interviewed Bob. Bob was a great interview. Can you tell me of some of those players or any other players that come to mind that stood out?
They're all excellent hockey players, and in fact, I wasn't blessed to have been there when Brett Hall was there and some of those guys were there. I had moved on, and but you look at that program and just talk about the Hobie Baker winners that have been in that program.
Yeah.
Nobody has come close to having the number of players that won the Hobie Baker Award as that program. And that just speaks to the coaching, to the culture, to everything about that program. And that's why the program's so popular here in Duluth. I mean, Sandy's doing an unbelievable job carrying on the tradition. And Surdy, Gus Hendrickson, and it just goes back. Actually, my first year coaching there was with Gus, and Surdy was an assistant. Then they let Gus go, and Surdy took over. So those were the 2 years I was actually there for working with UMD. So it was obviously a thrill for me to be part of that staff. And I obviously learned a lot. And I was a student of the game, Sid. I mean, I copied drills and that what I thought I would use down the road. And so I was always a student of the game and knew the importance of learning from people and using your experience wherever you were as helping you down the road, which it did. So. Yeah.
Well, in today's day and age, you would have probably had a heyday with all the access to the internet and everything you can get from different,
right,
training, the coaching, and whatever. And that's kind of
well, what I did. What I'm amazed, a lot of coaches don't do, but I did. I spent every summer. I would go on the internet and go on videos for NHL teams, prospect camps, whatever, and pick up drills and ideas from that. And you can, like you said, you can pick up so much from just spending a little bit of time on the internet and just search stuff. There's so much out there.
Oh, it's crazy.
It's crazy. And it got better and better as I continued to coach. But starting out coaching, I remember going down to the deck, and I would just sit there and watch Surdy's practices and copy drills. Or if the North Stars were in town, I'd go down and just pick up stuff. And I learned so much from just, opening up my eyes and taking in as much as I could to try to become a better coach.
Well, I think that's one point I'll talk about at the end. But, as far as advice, I try to give people when I coach these kids, when I do help, it says you got to be a student of the game. Guys, you can watch, and what frustrates me the most, Mike, when I talk to a kid or you watch hockey. Well, most of these guys are watching the highlights and all that. Oh, that's good. You actually watch a game to learn from the game. I mean, it's unbelievable. One of the guys I played against, his dad, may he rest in peace, one of the best coaches too, was R.H. Peters, Steve Peters, his son. And Steve does video now, and it's amazing some of the things that you can do with video. It's just writing on the computer and clipping and that. It's like it's came a long ways, and it's still got a long ways to go. But when you were playing or when I was playing, it was old. VHS, and you had to piece things together, and now it's just at your fingertips. It's amazing.
Well, when my son ended up playing at Omaha, playing some minor hockey, Jake, I would always, well, when he was young, he'd watch the tapes of the state tournaments that we played in and whatever. That visual had as much to do with his dedication to the game as anything being out on the rink. That visual is so powerful. And whenever he went to UMD games, I'd tell him to watch your favorite players and make sure you watch. And he'd go with his buddies. But see, a lot of the kids get together in a group, they don't really pay attention to what they're watching. And so they don't get a lot out of it. But my son would always end up sitting with me because he knew that he could watch the game and take it all in. And I think years of watching hockey and seeing the visual and working on those things really helped him become the player he became.
Well, it's just so important to be able to watch yourself. You watch to learn. I think what some people forget is that when they look at video, they look at the mistakes, and that's great. But you also want to look at what you did right.
Yeah.
I want to replicate that and pass it on. Sorry, I had to plug in. My laptop was getting low. I kind of went off screen, but that's why video is so important. And you're critiquing yourself. Being able to be constructive criticism of your own self. Say, I could have did this better, that better. So the student of the game aspect, I can't preach that enough. Take what you see out there, and don't try to necessarily emulate, but take what you see and formulate your own person. Use those things.
Right.
And that's why video is so important. There's video people. That's what they do solely for teams.
Yeah.
I sent some video up to the MJ up in Canada of 3 or 4 coaches of a player that helped out, or helped them with the video, get it up there. And they want to see video now. Scouts don't even have to go to games. They can sit there and watch it at home on computer now. Or watch video. It's crazy. It's just crazy. So, but I got okay. So let me get back on track. Sorry, I kind of all over the place again. But I wanted to say you were there. Then you went over to Scholastica at UMD, and then I got to put this picture up because here's a squad, Duluth Denfeld. You coached there a little bit, and I see in the far left. I look at that picture, folks. There's a young Mike Randolph, and just below him, there's a goaltender that made a pretty good name for himself as well.
That was the first team, Sid, from Duluth Denfeld to ever make the state tournament.
And
make the state tournament.
I when I interviewed Rob about that, he said there was better team. There's some good teams prior to that, but they never were able to make it. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that, being a Duluth resident and having coached that squad and be part of that team. Just the experience of making it for the first time as not a head but assistant coach in high school hockey.
Well, he said the thing that's first of all, when Denfeld made it, the whole town went crazy. They had a caravan into town, and and the same thing happened at East, because when I got the East job, they hadn't been to a state tournament in 17 years. And caravan, welcome home, all this stuff. But then that all died out. Just didn't seem that big. It was very few times after that initial one that it was the same. And the kids would look to see if they're going to have it. Obviously, the returners or whatever. But people start to take it for granted in some of these places where they go all the time. Or I can only imagine. I don't know what they do at Edina.
Yeah, I was going to bring them up.
Don't take it for granted. I mean, look at Denfeld now. Who knows when they're going to get back to another one? And that was when one-class hockey too, Sid. That wasn't two-class. Yes. That was one-class hockey. In fact, we beat Anoka in the section final at the deck. The deck was stuffed. We ended up getting beat in the semifinals by Scott Bloom. Some people remember that name. He played for Burnsville, and he scored the winning goal. And Robbie was really good and obviously a big part of our success, but you can't take it for granted because it doesn't happen all the time. And it's a special time of the year.
Yeah, you're very correct. Now, I know there's two classes, not started as tiers, but I look where I grew up, where I'm from. It's been a struggle for the small community of Roseville. I don't know when they'll be back again. You got a powerhouse now more. They built a behemoth over there. So it's tough. Like I said, it's tough to make it there. And hopefully they'll get back again. And the Evil Naval down the road, they won it last year. Good for Warroad.
Yeah.
They seem to be continuously. And East is having a little bit of blip now since you've been gone. But they're hopefully going to turn around again and get back. And because it's good for hockey to see those names that have been there, come back. But high school hockey landscape has changed a lot. And maybe we can get down it later. But let's just hop ahead now. I want to talk about Duluth, the Denfield squad, because that was, with Rob, and I interviewed Rob too. And it's just fun looking back at those old memories too when I pull up videos and seeing those games. So you ended up, you're there. How did it end up going from there, Denfield, to 88, 89, I think is when you started to coach over there at the East? How did that process come into play? And you ended up, lo and behold, and you're there for the next, how many, 32 years?
Well, I wanted to be a head coach. I was the assistant coach at Denfield and assistant coach at Glasgow, assistant coach at UMD. I wanted to be the head guy. So the East program opened up, and the first year I got the job and was really excited. And then they took it away because I wasn't part of the bargaining unit. Back then you had to be part of the bargaining unit.
Huh.
And so basically the following year it opened up again, and I applied again, and I got it. And within 24 hours, I had a teaching job. So they got me in the bargaining unit, and I got the East job, and I was very excited about it because they always had the numbers and a lot of good players, and I was really looking forward to trying to get them. But they were really very frustrated with the administration didn't care, and school board didn't care, but the community cared about getting to some state tournaments.
Sure.
And so that was my goal. And in 91, that was our first team to go to the state tournament. And the whole town was down there. We got to the finals and got beat by Hill Murray in the finals by the Strobel boys. And but that jump started our state tournaments.
Was it 18 appearances that they've had?
Yes.
That's just amazing. So step back for a second, because I know this is kind of, I can kind of relate to, because I wanted to coach as a kid. I wanted to coach when I went to college, but I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, in order to be a high school head coach at that time back in the 70s, 80s, whatever it is, didn't you have to be a teacher? Didn't you have to be involved?
Yeah.
And I didn't want, and I regret it now.
They changed the rules, said to where, because they didn't have enough teachers that wanted to be hockey coaches, to where they had to kind of be a little bit more lenient. So if I applied and I'm not a teacher and a teacher wants a job, they'll give it to the teacher. They changed it where they want the best person.
Sure.
Okay. Regardless whether he's a teacher or not. And obviously that helped me. But again, within 24 hours after I had the coaching job, I had a teaching job.
Yeah. Okay.
So
did you have a degree? Did you have a degree? What was your degree in?
Yeah, so my degree's in elementary ed.
It was. Okay.
Coached. I taught fourth grade. The farthest distance I could get away from Duluth East. So I went to be coaching the kids and dealing with the parents. So I went out to Stowe Elementary, which is way west.
Okay.
And worked out there for 29 years and taught fourth grade, great grade, and a heck of a combo. I love teaching and I love coaching. So
Okay. Well, we'll hold that topic, that thought, because you mentioned you get as far away, but yet still be able to coach and away from the parents, because that's some things that come up. We know we're going to discuss that because I've been there, done that too. So we'll wait on that. We'll hold that for now. But so going into the tournaments, talk about the tournaments and such, because there's, I got to show you a picture here. I've known that you said that was the outdoor game. That's a great picture over there. But more importantly, I love seeing stuff like this. When when you had a
Yeah.
big, I don't know which game that was, but that's,
I think that's in an Edina game. I think
Okay.
I don't know. That's kind of,
might have been a semifinal game. I remember you played them. I can't
Yeah.
remember in semis and go on. Okay.
yeah.
I mean, there's just so
No.
many names I could bring up and talk about. You don't want to take and isolate, and forget anybody, but there's a few names that do come to mind that you've coached. And one, hopefully I can connect with some of these. I had a little sniper, and I want you to talk about him just briefly in some of the tournaments you played for. He was Mr. Spihar. Can you discuss that little guy? Because, not the biggest player, but boy, he could play. He could put the biscuit in the basket, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could. I'm watching the Stanley Cup Finals, and I'll be real honest with. I haven't told Speed this, but Marner on Vegas reminds me of Spihar.
Really?
That's the way Spihar. He'd stretch a rink. Marner stretches that rink, and Marner's a better defensive player probably, but Spihar was an unbelievable. And the bigger the moment, the better he was. He embraced big moments, and he was a quiet leader. He held guys accountable, and he was the best player that I coached. And I coached a lot of really good players that went on, played D1, and some played pro. But he was an unbelievable player, and he taught me a lot about coaching. I'll give you an example. We'd work on the power play, and I'd interrupt the power play because I'd like to incorporate my ideas into it. And I finally learned, just let it run. They know what they see, and they know what we want to do. Just let it run. He taught me so much about coaching and giving the green light for them to be creative. And I just became a better coach after coaching him because of that. He was a play ahead of everybody, 2 plays ahead of everybody, 2 plays ahead of me. And I used to interrupt it with my coaching, and then I learned to just step back and let it run itself, let it run its course. And it usually ended up the right way with the puck in the net. Our power play was really good, obviously, with him on it, and his line mate, Chris Locker. And we had Dylan Mills was on that team, and Ryan Kuhl on that team. Kyle Koch was in the net, letting him in the net for a couple of years. It was just a great group of kids coming through the program at an important time. And just to go back a little bit, when we played in the 91 section final, they were in a region final as Pee-wee, Spihar's group.
Okay.
And they wanted to get back for our game. And to do that, they had to put the game in running time. And they did, and got back for our 91 championship game in the deck.
That's awesome.
Win and go to the state tournament. And, of course, at Pee-wee age, they're going, oh, unbelievable. We want to do that, kind of thing. So the cool thing about youth hockey, I just love it about youth hockey. All youth hockey is shut down during the state tournament. And I just think that's so important. So these kids can go down to the state tournament and have dreams and aspirations of getting down there.
You make a very good point, because my best friend from youth, he coached over in Wisconsin. Obviously you can't compare the two, but the one thing that they do over there, which is idiocy to me, is that they have their state youth tournaments at the same time as the state high school tournament. Now they don't grow, it's not Minnesota hockey, but you would at least think that they would leave it, let the youth go watch the games. They play it the same weekend, and then they get a little bit of attendance. But that's smart. That's why Minnesota hockey is pretty smart from that standpoint, because attendance has gotten bigger and bigger and bigger every year. It's amazing. So, and I also want to go back to you talking about the power play and this and that, and then the guys. Sometimes we get in our own mind. Maybe sometimes coaches coach too much.
Yep.
and letting them play. Just let them play. When you got the athletes too, and you got guys like Spee and those crew,
Yes.
throw the puck out there, let them do their thing.
Right. Right.
It's like when Hokie was coaching, and you had Butsy, Aaron, and Neil. Go do your thing.
Yeah. I just got to stay out of the way.
Yeah. But okay. Well, let's talk about some of these tournaments. I mean, good God, there's so many you're involved with. A couple of state titles, but of all those tournaments of the 18, and I want to throw up a couple things you probably don't want to talk about, but you're on the short end. But I'm going to pull up a picture here of one of these tournaments. This game, because I was watching that game. It started one day and ended up the next day.
Yep.
And he had a little goal.
Why don't you have the picture of the goal we scored, Sid?
I go back. I'll hit pause and go find that. But no,
it bothered me. It bothered me more than the players, but it bothered me.
Well, yeah.
The goal judge was sleeping. I can't tell you how many people tell me about that game. They were at the game and they got up to leave. They got up to leave after that goal went in, and they said the goal judge was sleeping. And I said,
now it's changed, Mike, because they definitely have the man, the eye in the sky. When I broadcast up there, they got the NHL. Those guys are going through things like a fine tooth comb. And with guys like my hair, that's how fine it is to make sure that they're a goal or not a goal or penalty, whatever have you. But
trust me, I talk to them every time after that one. They don't like seeing me down there, and I've been down there a few times after that one, and I said, why didn't you have this back in 96 when we needed it,
But that was one of the craziest games. And then another game, I don't have the picture. I do have I want to throw the video up because it's probably one of the most exciting games I've ever been involved with a broadcast. Again, you're on the short end. I hate, but it's the games like this that just like, wow, what an experience. I was in the cities yesterday for some therapy with a woman that works with 25 different NHL guys, and she had a picture, a jersey, she had a jersey up and it said "Row." Like, well, we know what happened to that guy. So I'm going to throw it up, and I want you to talk about this game. Unfortunately, it's the ending goal, but it's one of the most amazing tournament games I've watched and been involved with. So I'm just going to throw it up, and let's talk about this game after the fact.
It went into 3 overtimes or 4 overtimes.
It was triple
championship game, So,
and when I looked at, because obviously we didn't see the replay from that angle up top, way up top in the Alfie Shaver press box doing the broadcast. I saw him skate and dive for it, but then I didn't, realize how close your defender was to him, getting it. He just missed it, and that was Jojo. Was Jojo in the net? Was that the goal?
Jojo Jeanette was in the net. Yep, played great.
And being
that whole team played great. Both team, it was a great championship game. Said,
yeah. I mean,
both teams played great.
You guys all left it on the ice. I mean, whoever won that game, you deserve to win, but you can't have co-champions. It is, but just one of those games that is an instant class, just like the whatever 5 overtime game the other one was, the one that you should have won because there was no goal wasn't called. But things like that and experiences, you look back and you'll never forget. And what other, as far as that, you come out lost, but you had the victories too, and just the players and that. And looking back over the years at the East and those tournaments played in, is there one thing that really sticks out? And I don't mean to put you on the spot, but it's so difficult because you had so many experiences. But whether it be a game or non-game or just a personal, somebody saying something to you or a player saying something, can you bring up just from your experiences of the many, from the tournament experiences that sticks out aside from the ones that we just talked about?
Well, like you said, there's so many experiences, positive experiences. What I'm most proud of, Sid, is we went down there 18 times. And as you know, for a high school player, there's a lot of distractions down there.
Yes.
And I'm proud to say that our guys went down there with the goal of coming back with a championship or a second place trophy or a third place trophy or a consolation trophy. Yep. There's 4 trophies. And that's what a lot of athletes today forget that even if you lose the first game, there's a trophy out there to win.
Yep.
Even if you lose the second game, there's a trophy out there to win. So we tried to keep the kids focused on coming home with some hardware. And a lot of teams lose complete focus, and a lot of it's because they live down there and they just kind of give up and become part of the party. And our kids never got in any trouble, and we always came home many times with a trophy. And I'm most proud of the way our kids carried themselves down there and represented our community by behaving and doing the right thing. And starting in 91, I think that was huge. It was like 17 years since a Duluth East hockey team got there. That team made a name for our program. Our schedule picked up. I mean, we're down in the cities a lot, Sid.
Yeah.
A lot. We went and played the best. Because I learned that from Del General with Duluth Cathedral. Like I said, he played the best, and it prepared you for sections. And if you're fortunate enough to go to the state tournament, I always wanted to be in the state tournament, having seen most of the field that's in the state tournament. And so if we kind of knew Hill Murray was going to be there, so we wanted to play Hill Murray.
Yep.
We knew Apple Valley was going to be there. We scrimmaged them. We knew Moorhead with Matt Cullen was going to be there. We'd go to Moorhead and scrimmage them, so that when we got to the state tournament, Jefferson, a perfect example. When they had those great teams, we broke their state tournament run, and the year we won it in '95, and we scrimmaged them a couple times because we knew they were going to be there and probably the favorite to win it all. And we beat them 5-1 in the state tournament. That would never have happened had we not got on a bus, gone down, and scrimmaged them. So
by the way,
that was our plan.
95, you said, right? That was what year? 25-3. If I look at the history of that year.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. And I was going through some old archives I had one of my old hard drives, and I actually had a game. I showed you playing. I can't remember. You're playing White Bear Lake one year. I don't know, Pete Wagner and I myself, we were doing a game, and so talking about the strength of schedule. It's so important because you see a lot of these teams. You can't call them. I want to say they're playing the Patsies. Some different. Beating a team 10-0 or this and that doesn't do any good other than pad the stats for kids. Strength of schedule is very important, and I will say that you guys definitely did that and do that still.
Said we used it as. I always told the guys it's 25 lesson plans, and we got to learn from these lesson plans so that when we play our 26th game, which is your first playoff game, everybody makes the playoffs. So the first playoff game, you've learned from those 25 lessons. And I always felt our team was ready come playoff time. We had a great section final record. That's what I'm most proud of is our section play and our state tournament play. I'm most proud of that the end of the year, how we played. The beginning of the year doesn't mean anything. How are you playing at the end of the year in the most important part of the season?
Yeah, I came across something that Lauren Nelson had in the Legacy hockey site about the history of Duluth East. And it's just amazing going back from when you were there. I mean, very seldom it's like section final or section champion. I mean, it's just amazing. There was a gap where I saw semifinals 3 years in a row, but more often than not, you were in the state tournament or making it to the tournament. And it's just
that's a record I'm most proud of, Sid.
Yeah, it's just
really
it's crazy. It's crazy to see, and it's hopefully they get back to that point to see that.
They're going to have a very good team this year. Very good.
Good.
And I noticed their Pee Wee team was good and their Bantam team was good. So I think it's going to start moving in the right direction. I hope so, anyhow.
Yeah, well, that's good. I was going to throw. You talk about distractions, being, especially being from a small town and that coming down to the big city. I don't remember talking when I talked to Paulie Broughton and Hokie, and then he was talking about, yeah, we never see the big building. Some of the guys had ever made it out of out of the county or wherever they went to play hockey games, but never seen the big city. So the distractions has gotten even bigger now with the way it's been covered, and the hundreds of thousands of people that go to the games and just the hype. So there's a lot of pressure.
You know what was really cool, Sid? Back in '91, when it was one-class hockey, they actually had each team had an hour practice at the Civic Center on like Wednesday, and all the media came down during that practice and interviewed players and coaches and whatever, and then you played the tournament, which was really cool. We got on the Civic Center ice. Everybody got on the Civic Center ice for an hour. You ran a practice and media all over the place, and the kids were so excited. I'll never forget that. I mean, because obviously they took that away, and they went to two-class hockey, and that changed everything. But it was pretty cool back then to have experienced that.
Well, yeah, you kind of get the ability to media day. You can have a media day.
Yeah, right.
But I know we're kind of getting a little longer. I don't know how much longer we got for you, but I could talk hockey all day with you. But I want to talk a little about the landscape now, hockey, and get your thoughts on it, because it's changed tremendously. We go back to the one class. Well, you go back to where you had private school tournament, and then it became one class, and now they did a 2-tier, and now they got 2-class. And I don't know if with the high school league sometimes get in their own way, but there's teams that will never see the light of day to ever make it to the tournament. Do you ever? What's your thoughts on maybe going with a third class, just for those schools that you think of that? Well, they're never going to make it, no matter. It's going to be a miracle for some of these teams to see that. Do you think that? What are your thoughts on hockey right now? Because it's gotten so big.
Well, what I've always thought is, I'm open to talk about third class, but let's just say 2-class. I believe, and I know this will never happen, Sid, but I believe that the single A tournament should be played in a place like Duluth.
Absolutely.
And the double A tournament stay where it's at.
Yep.
And run them on different weekends, like the Catholic tournament was.
Yeah.
And really give the single A tournament that weekend. Let's just say Duluth in that. And there's other venues that you could put that thing in. But the bottom line is you want a full building.
Yes.
And then let the double A have their tournament. And just have 2 weekends of high school hockey. And it probably will never happen. If they go to 3 classes, then I think you move a third venue that's appropriate to the people that'll come and watch it.
Yeah.
Fill the building. Don't have a half full building or the lower bowl full. I mean, single A people just get all excited because the upper bowl's got some people in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're right. The other idea, and I always thought about this. What about we talk about March Madness for basketball, the NCAA? Why don't they do something like you talk about Duluth, or you got a beautiful rink down in Marshall and Salt, over there they got a great rink down there. Mankato's got a great rink. Move it around, have some like regional, and then your goal is to make it to the big show, which is the X. Well, not the X now, Bank, whatever it's called. I can't keep track of who's sponsored, but something like that maybe. Maybe open up more teams and make it a regional. Really make it. It's just a thought, but I'm not the high school league. That's
I thought high school hockey's playoffs should be set up like youth hockey all the time.
Oh,
where you can lose, but you can still get to the tournament.
Yeah, because
instead of one game and you're done.
You and I both know some of those better teams don't. They lose in the section final. I mean, some of the best games I've ever broadcast has been a section final.
Right.
And then, man, that team. You saw it this year where a team got upset. They got beat. I can't remember. Was it Rogers or somebody? They were like the top team, and they didn't make it.
Right.
Didn't make it. So I agree with you, but like I said, that's why we're not the state high school league. But there's all sorts of things that come to mind. So I kind of hopped around, but I wanted you to talk about you after the Duluth East stuff. You moved on to a couple of different teams, and I'm just going to throw up a picture so people are familiar. I mean, those that know you should know. But you were over here at STA as an assistant.
Oh yeah, St. Thomas Academy. I was co-coach my first year with Trent Eigner, and then I was head coach the following 2 years. So I spent 3 years there. It was a great experience and great school, great kids. Probably my best AD I've ever had. He's really good.
We broadcast for them years ago. I did some broadcasts for them and the private schools, so I'm very familiar with St. Thomas and when the Vanellis were there.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And then after that, then finishing up, they went to these boys. And I bumped into your goal. I think when you were there, the goalie, his dad I was at the Rochester. We had a little showcase for some NA3 hockey, and he was there. And the goalie, left-hander. I don't know if you remember the lefty you had there. I think it was. Talked about the program there and how excited he was to play for you. So that's where you became the most winningest coach in high school history. So I want to throw this up, Mike, and let's talk about this a little bit and kind of wind down. But I want to throw that. It's a little clip from Lakeland News. Give them credit on here. Just a 30-second clip of you getting the winningest coaching victory here. Hold on.
708th career victory. He's now the winningest coach in Minnesota high school hockey history. Here's what the skipper had to say after the game.
Just know my wife was in the building, my family was in the building, it meant the world to me. And to be honest with you, I want to put it in running time so they could get home earlier. Because they have our grandkids with them, and it'll be a special night I'll never forget.
Certainly.
So real quickly, I didn't catch the end there, but it showed the coaches that you surpassed, and there's quite a list of guys on that list. So from just a pride standpoint or just longevity standpoint, can you just, for those that watch, just talk about what it meant to you and your family to be able to accomplish that as a head coach in Minnesota high school hockey?
Well, man, obviously a lot to us, and there's a lot of people to thank along the way. I mean, I had great coaches, great assistant coaches. I mean, just names, Tom Klein, my latest assistant coach, one of the best, Jacob Bosey, Mike Rainier, Larry Traxel helped me, John Devich way back in 91, Terry Johnson, and I know I'm missing others, but you don't do this alone, Sid. It takes a lot of work and a lot of support, and obviously a lot of really good players. I was blessed to have so many good players along the way. I mean, even at Northern Lakes, we had some great players up there. And the thing, again, I'll repeat, that I'm most proud of are the 18 state tournaments, which means we won 18 section final games, which are very difficult. As you know, you've covered many of them.
Yes.
They're really tough to win. And then the success we've had at the state tournament on the ice, and the success we've had off the ice with how these kids have carried themselves. So I've been blessed a ton along the way. Had an unbelievable, my wife and I've been married 52 years, and 51 years of it, as you've covered, have been as a player or a coach. And you got to have that support. And we raised 4 kids. And during the summer, I did, obviously being a teacher, that was when I was a dad a lot. During the winter, mom took care of them and worked on top of it. So I'm very honored. The record's going to be broken. There's a bunch of guys chasing me down, and but I'm proud of what my career has been made of, and I've been very lucky to have great mentors. Again, Mike Sertage, Gus Hendrickson, to just say a few, and then all the other people that I've been fortunate enough to been in contact with. So thank you, Sid. But there's a lot of people who can share in this.
Oh, absolutely. And I got to give kudos out to your wife there, because I think he's saying, and I'm maybe butchering it, but behind every strong man, there's an even stronger woman. And kudos to her to have, because being a coach's wife, it's tough because they're gone a lot. You're doing your thing, and 50 some years, that's amazing to be together that long. And the kids that you had, and have watch your son, Jake, play on the team, and others, and play hockey for you and go on to bigger and better things. That's awesome. So
I'm finally learning, Sid, how to do the laundry and how to grocery shop, how to cut the grass, how to shovel the walk. It's all
goodness.
And then on top of it, I get to go see some high school hockey from the stands.
There you go. That's probably the best way, because then I don't want to open up a can of worms, but I want to ask you about this. Let's talk about it, though, because we can talk about whatever, and I'm not out to please anybody. Yeah, you finally get to sit in the stands and watch it from a different perspective. So, because being in a coaching career, you're under, glass. You're like the pheasant under glass. So, and I don't want to bring up, but I know there's another coach in the region that just got let go, and I've had friends that coached. It's really difficult being a high school coach or the coach of any sport. And it goes back to what Dickie Johnson, I think I told you, he said to me, they said online on the interview when he was being interviewed when Rose was playing Ward, and I'll reiterate this. Wally Shaver asked him, he says, Dick, any advice you give to the up-and-coming young coaches? And he said, yep, don't let the unnecessary evils get to you. Because, and you and I both know what that means, and people out there watching this, they know what it means too, because there's always, I call them the Karens of the world, their parents, that are going to get to people. So, I don't know, you can say now you don't want to talk about it, but I think
I can talk about it, Sid, because you get time heals. Yep. And you have time to think about it. And at the end of the day, I coached at Blue Peace High School for 32 years. I'm proud of that alone.
Absolutely.
And that means I went through approximately 4 or 5 superintendents, 4 or 5 principals, 4 or 5 school boards, 4 or 5 support systems.
Yep.
And unfortunately, they changed the superintendent, and this superintendent came in, and parents knew there was an opening to come after me. We didn't have a real good year, and I didn't change my train of thought or my philosophy. I've always coached the best players will play. And I didn't care. I had 8th graders play. Nick Licari played as an 8th grader. Dylan Mills played as an 8th grader. Both Nick played at Wisconsin, and Dylan was captain of the Gophers.
Yeah.
So I played the best players, and it wasn't based on anything else than what myself and the coaching staff saw. And I did that then, and I never changed. But unfortunately, they changed the superintendent, and this guy didn't want me here. And it's a long story, but at the end of the day, it comes down to parents. And any coach in the state of Minnesota who thinks they're safe, the only way you're safe is if you have a strong superintendent, a strong principal, and a strong AD, and a strong school board. That sounds like you got to have a lot of pieces on your side. But the longer you coach, the more you'll need that support system. And if you don't have that, Sid, it's a matter of time.
Well, I think Aaron Broughton said it best, and I'm sure I don't know who said the quote originally, but people have reused it, is that the best team or the only team, the safest team to coach would be the one from the orphanage.
Yep. And a lot of truth to it.
and the other thing, I don't know where I heard this, but it's also true. I had it as a wallpaper on my computer for a long time. It says something to the extent that if everyone likes you,
they said they can't take away the state tournament trips,
no
state tournament success. the success we had, both on and off the ice, they can't take it away. So
No. And the one thing I always like is this quote I was going to say is that if everyone likes you, you're probably doing something. You're not doing it right.
right.
If everybody likes you, you're not out there. I always say this too. Like, I'm not coaching, but I try to help people out as if I'm a coach. I'm not here to make you I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to make you the best possible hockey player, but more importantly, the best possible person I can.
Exactly.
And that's why I enjoy helping when I can, and that's why I enjoy talking to people like yourself, have lived it, and breathed it for many years. And you're an icon. You're an icon of Minnesota hockey, and I really appreciate you sitting down and talking to me about the experiences. And there's tons of other things that we could bring up or talk about, but there's always one thing I want to wind it down for you here, and because we don't want to try to catch up the Lefty Curran's interview. That's 2 hours. We still got 45 minutes to go to catch Lefty. What I'm saying, I always joke. He's the bellwether. Joke. Hey, has anybody beat me yet? No, Lefty, you still got the record, buddy. You still got the record.
No.
He's a character. But I'm going to ask you this, and I want you to give me some thoughts on it. Everybody, whether they played pro, coached, whatever have you, the interview is, if someone came up to you as a youth, it could be a hockey player, it could be basketball, it could be just a student in general, or just a young kid, say, Mr. Randolph, could you give me advice? If you were to give me advice, ask about what would you give advice to the young student athlete that wants to become the next level, whether we all have aspirations as a youth to play at college or junior or pro or whatever. What would you tell that particular young person?
Well, this will lead to what I would tell them. And I tell my coaches who have kids now, and I tell I've got 10 grandkids, Sid. So
starting lineup.
They're under 8. And of course the dads are asking me that same question. And I just share with them what my experiences were with my 2 boys. I had my oldest is a boy, and he played till Pee-wee hockey.
Okay.
Then he quit. And I supported whatever he did because I didn't want him playing because I wanted him to play. I wanted him to play because he wanted to play.
Absolutely.
My youngest was a boy, and I had 2 girls in between. My youngest was a boy, and that was Jake. And he was the opposite. He loved the game. I would intentionally drive by Portman's outdoor rink, which is about 6 blocks from my house, to go home. And I'd drive by, and there's always kids out there playing hockey. I'd drive by, and I'd say to Jim, you want to go play? Because I intentionally went by there with his hockey equipment in the car. You want to go out and play with these guys? And he knew the guys playing. He'd say no. Jake, you want to go? Oh, yeah. Jump out the car. If there was a game going on there, I'd drive up to Glen Avon, which was a mile from my house. And so I'd find these different places. Your kid, I think you have to expose your kids to everything. I mean, I played all the sports. Sure. I played baseball. There's too many people and parents who are focused on one sport because they want that kid to gravitate to that sport. They might not like that sport. They might like baseball. They might like football. They might like them all. I loved them all.
Yeah.
And because back then, when I grew up, Sid, you grew up, there was hockey during the winter. There wasn't summer hockey or all these camps or all this whatever, and you burn these kids out. You really have to be careful to pay attention to their desires. What do they like? What are the messages they're sending you? Like I said, my oldest sent me a message. He didn't care if he played hockey or not. He liked soccer and he liked other sports. Jake loved hockey. He couldn't get enough hockey. So I just paid attention to their behavior and what they were gravitating to. And don't worry, they'll find their love. You can't do it for them. They got to want it. And once they won it, like I built a rink in my yard for Jake because he loved it and he was out there all the time. And then once he got old enough to go to the outdoor rinks, I didn't do the rink in our yard. I wanted to go play with the other kids and meet new kids and friends, and which he did. And so I just think too many parents put, and they don't do it intentionally, Sid. They unintentionally put a lot of pressure on their kids to become something that they really don't want to become.
Sure.
Which could be a hockey player, a basketball player, soccer player, or whatever. Some athlete, you know.
Yeah.
So
well, I think you see it more often in hockey, but also all sports now, is that parents living vicariously through their sons or daughters, and it's kind of sad because they're pushing and pushing and pushing, and sooner or later it pushes them away from the game.
Yeah.
And it's one of the things when I used to scout, I'd see what the parent was like in the stands. I'd just make sure I see what they were like, kind of, because one of two things: this kid either loves the game and wants to do well, or he wants to get as far away from it as possible because mom and dad pushed him too far. Which leads me to one other comment I saw too, because they talk about concentrating and playing so much. I can't remember if it was a former NHL or scout or whatever, but he was talking about these youth year-round tournament. Checkbook hockey. They play more games than the NHL does, even after when they got to win, get the Stanley Cup. Some of these guys and play all the way through. They're playing like 80+ games as a youth. So no wonder burnout's not there. It's getting there. So, but very, very good point. And I think it all boils down to one word, and it's across the board. If anybody I've talked to, is the word passion. You have to have a passion for the game, and if you love the game and the things you do, it's not work. And you mentioned that you got to a point, Jake. You got to a point where he just wanted to go. Yeah, no, I don't want to do it. Fine. Different paths for different people. And that's why I asked.
You can't live through your kids, Sid. You just can't live through your kids. We all know that. And I mean, obviously, I wanted Jake or Jim to my oldest to gravitate towards hockey, but he didn't, and I supported him. And so
and that's good to know, because that's coming from the winningest high school hockey coach in Minnesota. People that watch this, listen to what you were saying as a parent, not the coach, but you're the parent, and it's good advice. Anything else?
He ended up being our manager, Sid, for 5 years.
Okay, well, I mean, he was still involved with the game, but not playing. So good for him. That's some people are like that. That's what they want to do. So, anything else or any other mentions that you want to bring up that I didn't? Because there's so much in your career that we could talk about, but just from a personal standpoint, you want to throw out there before we part ways today.
No, if you're a parent, please support your coaches. They're doing the best they can. They're a lot of time away from their families. It's a big sacrifice. They obviously love the game and love coaching, and just support them and make the experience better for everybody. When the coaches are supported, the experience for everybody is better. And I just hope they do. So, but I appreciate it, Sid. Appreciate what you do for hockey in general, not just high school hockey. And I enjoyed talking to you and sharing hockey stories.
No, I appreciate it. That's my way of getting back, and just talking to people like yourself, telling stories that need to be heard. And that's the reason why I created my hockey stick company, is because I grew up like you with nothing. My grandmother raised me, so I want to give back, because the sport gave me a lot. I may have not played at a high level, but I have a passion for the game, and I love talking to people like yourself, telling their stories. So I can't thank you enough again for coming on with me, Mike. And I'll have this posted. I'll have it up I got it on my Facebook, and I also put it on my YouTube. I'll share that. I'll make sure you get a copy, or at least you can watch it too. So again, it's been Mike Randolph with me today, the winningest coach in Minnesota State high school hockey career. So Mike, thank you so much. And have a great remainder of your day. Appreciate it, Mike.
Thanks, Sid. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So long, everybody.